Hello everyone and welcome to our sixth session on Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude series. Please excuse my voice is a little heavy, I was not keeping well. And we missed our last scheduled lecture also, so I apologize for that. Okay, let's start with the quick recap of the previous lecture. We started a new unit, okay, unit 2 on attitude. Okay, I hope till now you have understood things because we have just finished a unit 1, a unit that is unit 1, ethics and human interface. Alright, and we have discussed some questions also relating to the topics. So I hope you have understood and also practiced with us, okay, the questions which we gave you. Okay, in the last session we first saw the question about corruption in beautiful minds. It was a quote of APJ Abdul Kalam. It came in mains 2017 and we saw a model answer for it. Okay, then we started the new unit which is attitude, and we started our session with the quotation given by the Holy Highness Dalai Lama, His Holy Highness Dalai Lama. So he said that many problems stem from our attitudes, okay, that we put ourselves first at all costs. Okay, this is one of the examples of attitude. Attitude basically means tendency to act in a certain way, but it is not necessary that you will act in that way. Okay, the situation also affects your behavior. Alright, so if you recall our let's say the thought process, the snapshot of thought process, our beliefs lead to values, lead to attitude formation, lead to behavior. Okay, then this behavior gives a feedback whether things worked out or not, then it also affects your belief. Okay, so this is the snapshot of our thought process and we are right now here. Okay, we are studying about attitude. So first we saw what it is, okay, that it is our tendency to act, okay, tendency to feel and act towards a thing or a place or event. Okay, then we saw its features, that it is always directed towards somebody or something, and it helps us understand ourselves and others also, that we can understand others behavior by seeing their we can understand others behavior by understanding their attitude. Okay, why someone acted in this way. All right, so basically in India, if you go to hinterlands, you will find a lot of casteism is there. So you will not be surprised because that is the value and attitude they grew up with. Okay, that is why it shows up in their behavior. Then we saw what attitude is not. Basically it is not arrogance. Okay, how it is different from values, we also saw that, and it is not the usual lingo attitude that we use in our normal conversation. Okay, then when we say that person has a lot of attitude, that basically is arrogance. Okay, so attitude, if attitude is basically I can do it, I think I can do it. Okay, arrogance is only I can do it. So, things like this. Okay, then we saw the structure of the attitude. Some people call it content of the attitude also. It is basically CAB model or ABC model, however you want to learn. Okay, I feel CAB is more in a flow because first you start thinking about something, then you start feeling about it, then you act, okay, based on those two things. Okay, so first part is the cognitive part, which is how you think about something. Affection part is how you feel about something. Behavior part is how you will act about that thing. All right, so this is the structure. Then we saw what a strong and weak attitude. Basically, if C, A, B are all matching, it's a strong attitude. If any one or any two out of C, A and B are not matching, it leads to formation of a weak attitude. Then we saw the functions of attitude, how it affects our life, like utilitarian part, okay, ego defense. Then we saw knowledge function, then value expressive function. Okay, these things help people understand things. All right, then we lastly saw stereotyping, prejudice and discrimination. We saw definition of each of them. Okay, and then we also saw how it relates to the ABC model. All right, so stereotyping, prejudice, discrimination. Okay, first you think about people in a certain way, then it affects your feeling about them in a way, then you act based on those feelings and the way you think. Okay. Okay, these are some of the diagrams which you can learn how to draw in exam whenever you are faced with a time crunch. Also, this will help you in making notes. Okay, this is about structure of attitude. You can draw things this way. Okay, you can draw the triangle. See, I think I drew this in my exam, and I think I drew this in the class also. So attitude, behavior, how it links. Okay, what you actually do comes from here. Okay, behavior and situation are linked together. Okay, then what are the functions also? I have summarized it in this small diagram. Okay, then we can see how stereotypes and prejudice and behavior are linked. Okay, all right. So now we come to the question which I gave you the last time. Again, I am hoping, and I'll keep repeating it, that please write this, and I hope you have written it, because if you haven't written anything regarding these questions, you will not be able to understand the various things which I relate to. Okay, and that will lead to a loss of your own. Okay, you are adults, I hope you understand the risk you are taking if you are not writing at this time. This is a high time wherein you need to write things. Okay, so as to think better. Basically, writing just does not mean that it will make you write faster. It will help you think better also. Okay, all right. So let's start with the question. And prejudice is the child of ignorance. Discuss with examples. Okay, this is quite straightforward. I believe there are no hidden things, and there are no examples also asked which can. We have not said it in the question that you have to give examples from your own life. Okay, so you have to read the question carefully and try to understand what it is actually asking. Okay, all right. So we will follow this structure only. IBC, intro, body and conclusion. In intro, we will start with simple definition. Okay, definition of prejudice. Okay, because we have to tell that it is the child of ignorance, that is ignorance leads to prejudice. So we'll simply define prejudice first. Okay, then I'll also teach you one diagram. Okay, a lot of people keep asking how to draw diagrams and all in ethics paper, because in ethics there is very few maps and flowcharts, but yes, we can still insert it according to the relevance of the question. Okay, so but yeah, if you start practicing it right now, then only you will develop sort of a sixth sense, wherein you will come to know automatically that yes, I can write also, but I can write that in a diagrammatic form in the exam. Okay, that sense will develop only if you practice enough. All right, so we'll see definition and diagram. Okay, then in body we will see how ignorance leads to prejudice. I am just writing I and P over here. So how ignorance leads to prejudice. We'll first write it in a theoretical way, then we'll discuss examples. I'll discuss 3 to 4 examples. You can write any two, whatever comes to your mind in the exam, or whatever you are able to relate to and remember. Okay, in conclusion, we will write how to stop this cycle of ignorance and prejudice. Okay, then we'll conclude. This will be 3 to 4 lines. Okay, because see, the main part is prejudice is the child of ignorance. We have to prove this. Okay, even if the question was not there, even if this was somebody's quote, and which it is, like I discussed in the last lecture. Okay, it's a quote, right? So even if they give you this, what will you do? See, even if a direction is not given, that discuss with examples, still you need to prove this. I think this is very clear that you have to prove this. So that will be your body. And in UPSC examination, please remember that you have to offer a holistic solution. Sorry, holistic answer, and that should always lead to some solution, or that should always include some solution, because administration is mainly about what? Problem solving, right? Solving issues of people, right? So of your seniors, of your juniors, of your colleagues, okay, of basically everybody around you. Okay, and of course that includes the public, right? So solving is the agenda. Okay, UPSC wants to see that can you basically dissect let's say you have an issue, can you dissect in 3 things, like where it comes from, okay, what it is, okay, and how you will solve it? This is the basic thing, the basic approach to UPSC. Okay, many people don't teach this way because maybe they themselves have not studied this way. Okay, but for solution, it's very important that you include the solution in the answer even if it is not asked. All right, because in the end, what are questions? They are just basically some interview, right? They need to understand how you think, and it is more important in ethics because ethics is about you. It's not about the syllabus, it is not about UPSC, it's about you, how you will answer the question. Okay, so please remember that. All right, so we'll coming back to the question again. So prejudice is the child of ignorance. Oh yes, one more thing which just clicked, which just clicked my mind is that, see, in UPSC many people are reading the same thing. So how do you differentiate your answer with other people? Okay, that's what I'm trying to do here. That I'm trying to include examples which are usually discussed, and I'm also discussing some examples which are not usually discussed in classes, other classes. Okay, so point is content differentiation. You need to include your own opinion in the end, like in solutions you can quote committee. Okay, but yes, there you can include your own solution also, but you have to, this is now a bit of a trick that you can recommend, sorry, you can say that this is recommended by so and so committee. Like if you remember only one recommendation of a committee, see, once you read a lot, you develop a sense that this committee might have said this also. And if you read about that committee, like let's say second ARC, okay, it is very relevant, and we will have a lecture on it also, a special full lecture where we will discuss the whole ARC report on ethics. Okay, so once you know few points, you can write relevant points also, and you can say that this was also said by second ARC. Okay, so how do you differentiate your answer? You need to differentiate your answer by giving some solutions. Okay, many people would say or think that no solution is asked, so don't write. But remember, you have to read between the lines with UPSC. Read between the lines. Even in prelims, when they ask questions, they focus on lot of this because they need to check your common sense, that can you detect, okay, what is not being said, because, and basically they're trying to see what do you understand. Reading between the lines is basically understanding things. Okay, so do you understand a lot? Are you aware of a lot of things? Okay, they want to see that. So I'm not saying your marks will be cut, but I'm saying you will get 1 mark or half a mark more if you write some solution. Okay, so now that we have understood the value of solution, okay, let's move on to actual introduction. Okay, so as I said, we have to include definition and a diagram. Okay, so let's just start with that. Okay, so if we come to the introduction, you have to start with the basic definition. Okay, so I have told you about the definition in the last lecture, like prejudice is unjustified negative attitude towards a group of people. Okay, and what it can take the form of fear, disgust, and even hatred. Okay, that can lead to behavior. Okay, a type of behavior. Okay, so but you can write it in this way also. Okay, so basically you can say that it's a unjustified negative feeling towards a person. Okay, this is how you can write in the exam in a simple form. I have given you 2-3 ways of writing prejudice. You can choose any one. Okay, all right, also you can say this also, it is not an actual experience, it is a prejudgment. Okay, that is a bit technical, but what you can write is how do you it's a negative feeling to unjustified negative feeling toward member of a group of a people or a people. Okay, so then what diagram can you draw? Okay, so we are done with the definition. Okay, a diagram that you can draw is like this: prejudice. Okay, what it leads to, or what it is, basically features of it: it defies reason. Okay, it betrays human rationality. Betrays means it shows that you are not following human rationality if you are being prejudice. Another thing which you can write is it violates dignity of the person. Another thing which you can write is it reduces intrinsic worth of the person. Basically, it makes the other person feel bad. As simple as that. Okay, so you can draw all four or two or three or however you how much ever you remember. Okay, you can also say that it is not based on experience. Okay, it leads to hatred. Okay, like I've written over here. So these are the things which you can include in the introduction, and if you want to diagram and if you want to draw a diagram, you can draw it in this way. Okay, all right, so let's come to the body. In the body, you need to prove this. Prejudice is the child of ignorance. You need to prove this and you need to provide examples. Right? So, first of all, we'll say that what is ignorance. Okay, ignorance is basically accepting anything without questioning. Okay, or accepting any belief, anything or any belief. And it leads to lack of knowledge. Okay, so first you define ignorance in one line, that's it. Okay, then how does it lead to prejudice? Can you think about it? If you are not knowing about something, how will it lead to prejudice? Because then you have the wrong idea about something. Okay, see, if you don't apply, basically it leads to no ethical reasoning. That means you don't apply ethical reasoning to it, then it leads to what? Prejudice. Okay, we'll see examples, don't worry. So first we need to see the theory. Okay, then what else? It leads to herd mentality. Okay, that if a group is following prejudice towards another group, you also start following it. Okay, then it leads to maintaining of status quo. Okay, you don't try to change things. Okay, if you are ignorant, you don't try to change things. Okay, what else? You become a person of knowledge without values. So all these are how ignorance leads to prejudice. Okay, or implications of ignorance. Sorry, how ignorance leads to prejudice and how ignorance leads to other things also. Like it maintains status quo. Like prejudice will be maintained. Knowledge without values. So still, even though you are educated, you will be still patriarchal or racist or casteist. So all these are form of prejudice only. Okay, so that is why I'm discussing this. As you might have seen that I'm discussing more things other than my lecture, because this quote is important. So I thought that I can give you more content regarding this under this quote. So I have given you this as a practice question. Okay, so this is the first part of the body where you prove how it leads to prejudice. Okay, now the second part of the body is examples. We can write this in two ways. We can write in example 1, example 2, example 3, or we can create a small table, and that way you can improve your presentation and it will look good also, or at least it will look different and it will look that you have practiced something different. Okay, so let me just draw the diagram. Okay, before moving forward, I have discussed about this status quo. I have discussed it before, right? If you remember that if people are basically they agree too much with something, okay, they agree too much to the ignorance. Okay, like I took an example of Galileo. If people are ignorant and they blindly follow church, so they were prejudiced toward Galileo, so they followed sorry, the church followed geocentric, okay, and Galileo said Earth is not the center, it's actually heliocentric. Okay, the solar system is heliocentric. So what happened? Under the ignorance, they led to the feeling of ignorance, or the ignorance led to prejudice towards Galileo, and he was basically killed. Okay. Sorry, he was not killed, but he died of natural causes. Okay. Anyways, not relevant to our discussion. So we'll start with examples. Let me just create a diagram quickly. So we'll start with let's say the topic, or just a second. We'll start with the example over here. We'll see how ignorance is there in that example. Then we'll see how is the prejudice that develops, or we'll go stepwise. Stereotype, then the prejudice, or basically how we treat them. Okay, yeah, or for implications. Oops. Okay, so let's start with the African people. Okay, African people, Nigerian people, basically. Okay, we have a prejudice towards them, right? Or we have ignorance that they all are basically thieves. Okay, I cannot put it mildly, because that is our ignorance towards them. Okay, that they are basically thieves. Okay, sorry, this is our stereotype towards them. Okay, that develops from the ignorance towards their culture. Okay, ignorance towards their conditions, and that we think ignorance that all are same. Okay, that leads to stereotype of being thieves. Okay, crooks, basically bad people. How do we feel about them? Okay, we don't talk to them normally. Like, we don't treat them with respect, or treat with respect. We treat them less than humans. Okay, that is the behavior part. Okay, implication. So this is how it leads. Like, we have ignorance towards them, that okay, everybody is like that. Okay, we don't have awareness of their culture, of their conditions. Okay, we don't realize that Nelson Mandela came from the same region, and we still treat them in a okay. Some people basically are thieves over there, like Nigerians. Some people are doing that. Okay, but not everybody is doing that. Okay, so stereotype develops. Okay, then we have prejudice towards them. Okay, another example which you can take is regarding women. We have an ignorance towards them. Like what? Like, they are not important enough. Okay, we are ignorant of the fact that IMF said that if we include women in our labor force India's GDP will increase by 27%. Okay, so we have an ignorance towards this fact, and we are not realizing the value of that fact and the contribution of women. Stereotyping develops. Okay, you all know their household work is not included in the GDP. Okay, what else? They are not allowed to go out. Okay, basically patriarchy, you can then relate with everything, that this one words relate with everything. Okay, patriarchy in home, it's there in office, there is glass ceiling. Okay, there we'll see that in prejudice. So what do we feel about them? Okay, in patriarchy we feel that, what do we feel, or what do we think, that they are not worth going to office. Okay, in home they should be subordinate and all that. So prejudice, how does our feeling develop towards that? Feeling of basically looking down at them. Okay, glass ceiling, it results in glass ceiling. because you don't feel that they are equal to you. Okay, then feeling of hatred develops. Okay, and such things. I think you all can write more points on this, but the point is, in examination you need to write the important points. So how does it lead to prejudice? Okay, how the ignorance leads to prejudice. Okay, some some more example which we can write. Let's say about the northeast people. Okay, so what are the prejudice that we develop? Okay, we are ignorant that they are also part of our great nation. Okay, part of our country, part of our culture. We are ignorant about that fact, right? So stereotype develops that they are not from India or our mainland. Basically, they are not part. Okay, that's what we think about them. We are not aware of their geographical diversity. Basically, we are ignorant about them. Okay, so that leads to stereotypical behavior wherein stereotype that they are not part of India. Okay, and then leads to prejudice, like Nido Tania case incident or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so they feel alienation because of this, because of the way we behave towards them. Alienation as a result of our behavior. Okay, so this is how you can relate. Another example which you can, okay, one thing I will like to explain here, herd mentality. Okay, this is a new thing which I used. Okay, herd mentality, how you can see that in the case of Hitler, he spewed, or basically he spread ignorance about Jews, right? So they are inferior. That led to stereotype towards them. Okay, that they thought that they are above. Basically, this is leading to this only. They are above Jews. They don't deserve to live. Okay, that's what they thought, right? Then what it led to? It led to hatred, prejudice. Okay, then led to behavior which was killing. Okay, so this is how you can this is the fourth example how you can relate with herd mentality is that people followed Hitler blindly and people followed other people blindly. So basically what I told you about ignorance, that it is something accepting in with anything without, or any belief without questioning it. Okay, then it leads to lack of knowledge. So everybody had a lack of knowledge toward Jews. Okay, that ignorance, okay, which was spewed, okay, or spread, you can write spread by Hitler, okay, and followed by many other people, followed it blindly, right? So that was the example, that was the implication, that people led by Hitler followed him blindly because of the herd mentality. Okay, that was the effect. Okay, so this is how, okay, we'll recap it. Okay, now coming to the conclusion, as I have discussed earlier, that you need to be focused on solution also. Okay, you need to write one or two things in conclusion. If it is not directly asked in the question, you need to still write one or two things about the solution. Okay, basically here what would we write? How to deal with prejudice, or how to remove it from ourselves, and how to remove it from other people also. Okay, so what we need to do is write in a structured way. Okay, so first we can easily write extrinsic, then intrinsic, solutions. These are solutions. Okay, in extrinsic what you can write? You can write that many laws, rules and regulations First of all, the laws, rules and regulation which are there, they need to be strictly implemented, okay, and then you can say that if there is any gap in them, okay, they need to be rectified, or new rules or laws need to be brought in, okay, because since this is a conclusion part, so we cannot elaborate more on this, okay. Second thing, intrinsically you can say that we should increase awareness towards cultures, okay. So basically we should increase awareness, okay, and that can lead to decrease in prejudice, because lack of awareness leads to ignorance, right? So how you can do that? Better socialization. By whom? By the family, by the educational institutions. Okay, so better socialization and value based education. Okay, so in the conclusion you can write, since prejudice leads to exclusion which is detrimental to inclusive growth, okay, we need to root it out from our democracy, so that we can have inclusive growth, that is सबका साथ सबका विकास. That's it. Okay, so this is how you can start the answer and end the answer. Okay, let's quickly recap. First you need to introduce by definition and a bit of diagram wherein you can tell the applications or implications of prejudice. Then we show how ignorance leads to prejudice. Okay, then we saw 4 examples about African people, about women, about Northeast people, about herd mentality also, basically Hitler example. Then we saw in conclusion why do we need to include solutions, and we distributed, today we learned a new thing, which is this extrinsic and intrinsic way of solving a thing, okay, or solving an issue, wherein you divide your solution in 2 things, okay. Another way of offering solution is short term, medium term and long term. You can also use this way, okay. In ethics you can say that in short term we need to implement rules in a stronger way. In medium term we need to focus on reforming our education system and value based education. In the long term we need both of them, okay, to work together towards a let's say ethical society or more democratic society or more open society, okay, or more mature society, okay. Long term solution will be based on everything, okay. In the short term laws will work, punishment will work, okay, fair punishment. In the medium and long term, both value education will play its role, because value changes through 2 or 3 generations. It does not change in one generation, okay. You will teach your kids something, they will teach their kids the same thing or extension of that thing. So that's how at least it takes 1 or 2 generations to change the value of the democracy. Okay, so you can distribute it in that way also. So if you write it in a structured way, the examiner will get an impression that you have actually understood things deeply. Okay, so that was our answer writing. That was our answer writing for today. Okay, let's move on to the session itself. Okay, it's a 6th session. Okay, brief outline if I want to give is today we are going to study about weakness of attitude. Okay, basically weakness in character of a person and so on. Okay, we'll see about a relationship between attitude and behavior. Excuse my spelling, I'm using a lot of shorthand because we have to this is just an outline. Then we'll see different type of attitude. Most probably we'll see moral and political attitude today, and if time permits we'll continue about more attitudes. Okay, All right. So if you if you see the background of this slide, I've used a lot of railway tracks. Basically, it shows that in ethics we have a lot of ways to go. Okay, and we need to decide where we need to go. We have a lot of dilemmas and issues. We need to analyze a lot. Okay, so that is why I've taken this image of a track which has a lot of ways. Okay, so in ethics also there are a lot of ways. There is no black and white. Things are mixed, because even in the positive step you would be risking something. Okay, all right, so let's begin. So the first topic which we are going to deal with is weakness of attitude. Although in the last lecture we have seen what are strong and weak attitudes. Okay, we defined them. That is, if there is plus plus plus, basically whatever you think about something, whatever you feel about something, and the behavior which you are going to do, they are in congruence, then you have a strong attitude. Okay, and if there is something like you have strong cognitive part, you have strong affective part, but the behavior part is not that strong, so it turns into a weak attitude. We will see that now by concrete examples. Okay, so first let us take an example of an ice cream. Okay, let's say a butterscotch ice cream. So the cognitive part says, okay, if you like it, okay, I'm just saying if you like it, you will try to justify it. It is crunchy, it is it's cooling effect on the stomach and all that. So basically you will try to rationalize it. Okay, so you have a positive rationalization towards it. In the affection part, the emotional part, you like it, you like the taste, you like how it makes you feel, and you like the crunchiness and all that. Okay, but in the behavior part, if you consider that maybe somebody has diabetes, so what will that person do? That person will try to avoid it. Okay, not because they don't like it, because due to the disease they cannot take it. Okay, so this turns into a weak attitude. Now if we see another example, okay, let's take a blood donation example. Okay, so in blood donation, if you have a strong attitude towards it, like you rationalize it by saying that it is good for others. Okay, let me just write it somewhere, good for others. Okay, please keep taking notes of whatever examples I am taking, because it will be important for you to write it in the exam. Okay, and you will be able to relate the abstract principles with concrete life examples. Okay, but when you, let's say you have a fear of needles, then the affection part, in which you have fear of needles, you will not be able to take it, right? You will be fearing it, but but again, okay, so you know that it is good for others, but you are afraid of needles. So what will it lead to? You might go or you might not go. Okay, you might go or you might not go. So basically you are confused. Okay, so this is the resultant behavioral component. Okay, now see, this is the CAB part. This is not the actual behavior which I've talked, that during a situation you will act differently. See, this is the CAB part, the CAB model. Okay, I hope by now you understand what it is. Okay, the cognitive, the affection, the behavioral part. The cognitive means what you think about it, knowledge and belief. Affection part is basically how you feel about it. Behavioral part, your tendency to act, how you might act. But in actual situation, it might be different also. Okay, so one thing which I can tell you here, that if you are afraid of needles, but let's say your significant other, your spouse, your fiance, your girlfriend or boyfriend takes you, so to impress them, or to do something like that, you might act like you are not afraid of needles and you will go. Okay, so behavior changes. Okay, actual behavior depends on the situation you are in. Okay, now let's take a example from bureaucratic angle. Okay, if a person who is a civil servant, any type of civil servant, okay, they have a strong cognitive part wherein they say that they don't want to get corrupt because this is wrong. Okay, this is wrong for everybody involved. This is a slippery slope. If I take 2000 now, I would have to, that person will offer me more next time. Okay, it will basically lead to less integrity in me. Okay, don't worry, integrity basically means what you think and what you do is in consonance. Okay, they are the same thing. Don't worry, we'll discuss integrity in detail. For now, just think that, just try to understand the when you think about corruption, you can logically justify not doing it. Now, how do you feel about it? You hate people who do it, let's say. Okay, so you hate people who do it. So you have a positive thinking about it, you have a positive basically you hate it. Okay, but that means you are against it. So I am taking against corruption as a positive thing right now. Okay, we'll take the opposite example also. So you think that it is wrong. Okay, you feel that it is wrong. Okay, you hate people who do it because maybe, let's say, you had an incident in your life where due to corruption you did not get what you deserved. So in behavior, what you will do, if it you are not tendency to not get corrupt. Okay, so even in situation in the real life, you don't react that way. Okay, you don't get bribe or you don't accept bribe. So that is a strong attitude. In weak attitude, what will happen? You will actually take the bribe despite feeling negative towards corruption and negative cognitive part and affection part towards corruption. Okay, so I hope you understand this. All right, so you will act in a certain way and your tendency to act will be different. So when the tendency to act or any part, basically in CAB, any part is not following the other parts, there will be weakness of attitude. Okay, all right. So another person, let's say the negative example, a person who is opportunistic, ठीक है, or opportunist, let's say. Okay, so if a person is opportunist, that person will take the bribe. Okay, that person will take the bribe. That person, let's say, they feel that taking corruption is okay. Okay, they rationalize it by saying that, okay, I earn less, I do so much work and all that. By affection, they say, oh, I like bribe, I like the easy money. Behavior component, they are going for it. So that is how. See, so they have a strong attitude towards it, right? The point is, see, that is what I was telling you today, that there are less gray areas. You might be really confused here, because even though, so this person has a strong attitude towards being corrupt. Okay, this first person had a strong attitude towards not being corrupt. Okay, so strong attitude does not always lead to positive result. Why? Because they are not ethical. Those people are not ethical, and we have already discussed about it, that the leadership which is ethical, that leads to positive change in the society, right? Not the negative leadership. So ethics is an important part of our behavior. Okay, positive ethics, positive morals and ethics that lead to goodness in the society. Okay, you need to write all these words. So this behavior, although this is a strong behavior, okay, this is a strong attitude towards something, okay, if we take it in a neutral way, but if we add value judgment to it, then we will say that value judgment is basically you're judging something, okay, saying it is wrong or right. So here you will say that it is wrong. Okay, corruption, strong attitude towards corruption is wrong. So point is, coming back to the point, that ethical and ethical attitude of the person determines whether they are good for the society or not. Okay, so I hope you understand this. Yeah, we have taken concrete examples of weakness of attitude. Okay, and what is important, even though there might be strong attitude towards corruption, but what differentiates between good strong attitude and bad strong attitude? Okay, such people who are opportunists, they justify corruption in every sense of the way. They are very positive while taking it. They think it is the way of the world, way of life, and so on. Okay, so that is why ethics and value education is so important. All right, so I hope you understand this. Going forward, we will also discuss today how to change weak into strong attitude. Okay, basically it is about having strong emotional intelligence and so on. Okay, all right, let's move forward. So this is a quote, this is a value addition for you guys. You can use this quote wherever you want. Okay, it can be used in essay, it can be used in conclusion of an question on attitude if it is relevant. Please remember, if it is relevant. Okay, we all read quotes for essay. Okay, but I am including here so that you can relate it easily, and if I give it step by step, like last lecture also I gave 2 quotes, here also I am giving another quote, so you will be able to remember them easily. Okay, there won't be any sudden burden on you. Okay, so weakness of attitudes become weakness of character. This is what we just discussed. Okay, that if a person has a weak attitude, okay, they might eat the ice cream. Okay, they might not donate blood, and if they have a weak attitude, they will in a real life situation accept the bribe. So this is how you can relate, and if something like this comes in essay, you can obviously quote, because this is a quote by Albert Einstein. All right, okay, chalo. So next topic will come to which is the relation between attitude attitude and actual behavior. See, you start everything by belief. We have talked about it. Okay, this is the building block. Okay, so belief, you start with beliefs about your culture, education. Your beliefs come from your experience. Basically, what you hold to be true. Okay, why am I taking this? Because now we are actually entering into this topic, so you will be able to understand how attitude actually affects. Okay, now values, we have thought, this is actually another representation of the snapshot we have discussed in the first lecture or second lecture. Okay, so values, what is important to you? Okay, your family. Okay, somebody gives importance to wealth. Okay, and so on. So what is important? Your attitudes, which we studied right now, CAB, which we are also studying right now. Okay, how you treat others and approach situations. Okay, so this is the tendency to act. Please remember, attitude is the tendency, how you will act. Actual situation will affect how you will actually act. So behavior is how you will act. So if you remember our snapshot, belief leads to values, value leads to attitude, attitude leads to behavior, and that also gives, by feedback you change your beliefs also. Okay, so you can remember this diagram. Okay, all right. So now we come to another topic, our next topic, relationship between attitude and behavior. How attitude and behavior are linked with each other. There have been many experiments and all, okay, who were trying to actually codify or quantify the relation between attitude and behavior. Okay, there have been experiments by Corey in 1937. Okay, they judged student by letting them give them some marks, basically self-evaluation. Okay, then there is a Lepere experiment. It was done in 1930s, I believe. Okay, so it was a relation between Chinese and Netherlands. Okay, so basically you don't need to remember all this. I'm just saying that people have done actual experiments on to the relation between attitude and behavior, and where they wanted to actually quantify it, like how it affects. Okay, how both of the things affects, and then they have drawn some conclusions which we are going to study today. Okay, now we can see one example. Okay, for which we can easily relate to caste system in India. Okay, see, there is a positive relation between attitude here and behavior. I'll explain everything, but just for an example. Okay, I believe in giving as many examples as possible, so I just got reminded of this. So in caste system, we have a positive relation between attitude and behavior. Okay, why? Basically, the way your attitude is, the way you behave. Okay, people have negative attitude towards caste, okay, or positive attitude, they want to perpetuate it. Okay, they higher castes like it, so that's their behavior also. Okay, another example that can be taken between exit polls, between exit polls. Here the reporters, when they take opinion, okay, they think that the people will actually tell the truth. Okay, so people have actually behaved, okay, in a way they are telling. So basically they rely on positive relation, that actually attitude helps the behavior. Okay, another example which we can relate to is between caste and politics. Here I would like to tell you, this is important an example, because here I will tell you about a conflict. That what if there is a conflict between two attitudes, like I told you above that you have a positive attitude. Let's say there is a positive attitude towards the caste, okay, but you hate corruption. Okay, so now what you will do? Now if you have a leader or a politician who is standing in elections, but that person is from your same caste, but he is corrupt, what you will do? Although you hate corruption, I'm not saying, see, negative attitude towards corruption doesn't mean that you will ignore it. The point is you will hate a corrupt person. So the politician which is standing in your area, that person is from your caste and you favor caste, but that person is corrupt, but you hate corruption. So what will you choose? Some people will choose not to vote, some people will choose to vote. So basically some people will choose one attitude over another. If you have a positive attitude that you like person from your own caste, you will vote for the politician. And if you like or if you hate corruption more than the caste attitude, you will not vote. Okay, I hope you understand. See, if there are two attitudes, let's say attitude 1 and attitude 2. Here in attitude 1 you favor caste, in attitude 2 you hate corruption. Okay, so if attitude 1 is stronger than attitude 2, you will vote for the person. If attitude 2 is stronger than attitude 1, you will not vote. As simple as that. Okay, so this is the conflict between two attitudes. Okay, I think we have taken ample examples. Okay, let's move forward. So see, before we read these 4 points, we need to understand that there, as I told you, that there have been multiple studies and all of them have landed on two things. Landed on one thing, that the relationship is not always straightforward. Okay, there are close linkages. We will see why. Okay, this happens. Okay, because that is important. So basically there is a relation between attitude and behavior, but it is complex. Okay, why it is complex? Because there are many factors due to which attitude don't always lead to actual behavior. Okay, there are two fundamental issues which we are going to study. Okay, also another reason is that there are sometimes scenarios wherein the behavior also affect our attitude. So basically right now we are taking a overview of the relation between attitude and behavior. We are not studying anything. We are not studying attitude effect on behavior or behavior effect on attitude. What we are doing is we are studying the overall things. Okay, so for the relation of attitude and behavior, it is not very straightforward. This happens because it does not always lead to behavior. Now in the reverse thing, when behavior affects attitude, that is also happening. Okay, so the conclusion is at least attitude affects, it does affect in every situation. So it is one of the aspect. It is one of the aspect. Okay, why? Let's see. So first question is, does our attitude guide our behavior? Okay, does our attitude guide our behavior? Like I just said that yes, it sometimes guide our behavior, because it depends on many factors which we are going to see. So basically there are two important things. See, it depends on the immediate consequences. Immediate consequences means, like I've told you, okay, let's take the corruption example. If a person knows that they are going to get caught, what will they do? They will not take bribe, right? And if a person knows that they are going to get away with it, they will take the bribe. So that is another scenario, right? So it depends on immediate circumstances. Okay, so basically attitude forms one of the important determinants of behavior, let's say. Okay, so attitudes do influence behavior, but not always. Okay, because they are just a tendency to act. Please remember, it's just a tendency to act. Situation is sometimes very drastically different. See, many times people are non-violent, okay, but sometimes when they face violence or somebody threatens their close relative, let's say some eve teasing is going on and the people are teasing their own relative or something, so person might get angry, right, which they usually might not do. Okay, another thing is when attitude basically affects our behavior, how others will think. Basically, let's say you have a tendency of smoking or drinking, but your parents are strictly against it. So what will you do? You will not do it, right? Most probably you will not do it in the home at least, or you will, whenever you drink outside, you will be careful not to go home drunk. As simple as that. Okay, so basically how others will evaluate your action, okay, or way of behaving, that is important. Okay, which affects this is the reason, right, for discipline. Okay, discipline in school, how it is maintained? By punishing you in front of everybody, almost in front of your class, or sometimes if the punishment or the mistake you did is quite worse, then they even punish you on the stage. Okay, so how is discipline maintained? How is attitude over there is maintained? By actually the situation, and in that situation it depends on immediate circumstances and how others will think about you. Okay, all right, I hope you understood this. Let's move on to second question. Okay, these questions are basically what determines the attitude and behavior relation. Okay, relation from attitude to behavior. So when does our attitude guide our behavior? What we just saw, does our attitude guide our behavior? Yes, sometimes. The word is sometimes. It does. It is one of the factors. Okay, all right. So when does our attitude guide our behavior? What are the conditions in which there is a one-to-one relation or equal relation between attitude and behavior? The way you think is the way you will act. Okay, so it depends on the quality of the person. What does that mean? Basically, if the person has high emotional intelligence, okay, please remember that, high emotional intelligence and high integrity. We are going to discuss integrity in detail, don't worry. Okay, emotional intelligence is basically how you handle your emotions and others' emotions. Okay, so if you are able to control your emotions in the moment, in the situation, then you will not take bribe. Okay, let's say if there is nobody looking or you will not get caught, there are high chances you will not get caught. So what you will do? You will try to control your greed. That is controlling your emotions. So you will not get corrupt. Okay, if you have high integrity, and integrity means what you believe in. Let's say you believe in not taking corruption. Let's take the voting example. So even if the person is from your own caste, you will not vote. I hope you understand this. Okay, so if a person has high emotional intelligence and high integrity, they will follow their attitude into the behavior. Okay, there is one issue with the Indian society, as you might have studied in GS1, that we are going under a transformation. Our society is changing. So that is why there is sometimes weak correlation, because some people still believe in let's say caste more than corruption. Okay, so they will vote for the same person from the caste. Okay, so this is one example. So basically you need to remember that Indians are, this is the root reason of many of issues in our country, that there are many people for whom caste does not exist, many people for whom difference of communalism does not exist. Okay, but there are many people, there is still majority of citizens of India who believe in these things. Okay, that is reality also. I'm not saying they're believing in something non-concrete, but also I'm not passing a judgment, but I'm just telling you the facts. So basically Indian society is going through a transformation stage. So still So that is the issue, why there is good attitude among people, but still people are not able to follow it due to situation, due to how other people will think of them. Okay, all right. So basically here we can take example of Gandhiji. Okay, that is a positive example actually over here, Gandhiji and Chauri Chaura incident, right? So he had high emotional intelligence, that is why he was able to withstand the pressure from people, right? He withdrew the NCM right after Chauri Chaura incident. So he had high integrity also, because he said that I believe in non-violence, and if Indians are doing violence for independence, then it goes against the ethos of my attitude. Okay, so his attitude and behavior was same. All right, so I hope this is I think you can relate with this example easily. Okay, so that is why, see, this is how I know I'm taking the one example 2-3 times, but that is the actual trick. This is another tool which you can use, because you cannot remember a lot of examples, as simple as that. It is hard. Okay, because when you go into the exam, many things which you have basically ruttofied, okay, mugged up, you will forget them if you have not practiced them. So if you practice reusing the examples, because see, GS1 paper is not being checked by GS4 examiner, so you can reuse the example. Okay, so basically Gandhiji had high integrity also and high emotional intelligence also, because he withstood the pressure of people. Otherwise, if he had see, emotional intelligence also includes willpower. So if he did not have strong willpower, he would not have been able to take the pressure, as simple as that. Okay, so quality of person determines the relation between attitude and behavior. All right, so final action depends on quality of person, and we are going to see other factors. Okay, so next point is, the next variable is quality of a situation. How? Okay, let's study about this quality of a situation. In that, there are two things: social norms and time pressure. We are going to take them one by one. Okay, so in social norms, if we talk about, let's say, touching the feet of some relative, and if you are not like, if you don't like that relative, okay, let's say by any reason, because of any reason you don't like that relative, but in India social norms are there that you have to touch feet of elders, right? So under the pressure of social norms, you do it. Another example, let's say you are a little atheist, okay, but for the marriage you need to go to temple and all. Okay, so under the pressure of social norms, because you cannot disappoint your better half's family also. Okay, you cannot always justify this to everybody, because as in India, as you know, not two people don't marry. Okay, the families also marry. Okay, they are involved in everything. So how will you justify to everybody? I know, why am I saying this? Because I know some people will think that I can justify to everybody, but in reality you cannot. So please remember this always. You have to be a little practical in writing ethical answers. You have to develop ethical attitude, wherein you focus on values, okay, morals, while writing answers. Okay, but you have to focus on practical life also. You cannot be a Bahubali in real life always. Okay, you have to sometime basically bend down to social norms, okay, like we are talking about right now. Okay, like even when state leaders go to other countries, they wear the social acceptable clothing, okay, from that area, like prime minister wears attire of northeast region when he goes to northeast India, something like that. Okay, so you need to remember that beliefs, how one should behave in a situation, okay, in a situation which is social norm. Okay, so how you should behave in a situation also affects your behavior. So basically how you should behave, okay, affects your behavior. Okay, so this is the quality of the situation. Now time pressure, here I think you will be able to relate quite easily. Let's say why does UPSC ask so many questions in such a less time? Because they actually want to see your attitude. They want to see how your real attitude is toward things. Okay, in UPSC main examination you have very little time to actually think. You have to write what you actually know and believe. Essay is such a creative endeavor that in some paragraph, okay, if you are not, if you are good at faking, then okay, fine, great, good for you, but many of us are not. So we write actually what we believe and what we think. So UPSC does this time crunch thing because they actually want to know what is your real attitude toward women, toward person with disabilities, towards rural areas. Okay, how do you believe the development should be? See, your perspective should be, your development agenda should always be inclusive. Please remember that. If you remember that, you will be able to include women, person with disabilities, rural areas, okay, downtrodden. Okay, so if you think in that way, you will be able to relate easily the answer. Okay, and the examiner will also understand that you are not leaving out people, okay, who are actually in the need of development. Okay, another thing in exam, let's say in time pressure, you are a huge fan of, we have discussed about it, of by let's say Amir Khan. Okay, Amir Khan or Mr. Rajnikant, ठीक है, but and you also watch all of their first day first shows, but you have exam tomorrow and the movie is releasing, so what will you do? I think you know the answer, that you are obviously focusing on exam. Okay, and people who thought about first day first show, that is not the right attitude. Okay, so the point is, under time pressure the attitude and behavior changes. Under social norms, attitude and behavior changes. So that is why attitude is not the only thing that determines behavior. Okay, so okay, so when, okay, the third point, qualities of attitude. It is quite simple, because if you have strong attitude, you will, what we have studied about it just now, if you have strong attitude, you will convert it into behavior. Remember about people who are corrupt, they have strong attitude, they have strong attitudes toward corruption, and they actually convert it into behavior. Okay, so basically, okay, so how does a attitude become strong? Basically, if you use it more, or your CAB part is in congruence. Okay, so basically attitudes which are used frequently, they also become strong. I told you na, behavior also feeds beliefs, and belief feeds value, value feeds attitude. So basically, if you do it regularly and you are getting away with it, you will be developing an attitude, strong attitude towards corruption. Okay, all right. So I hope you have understood this. It is a bit complicated, because we thought that if it's our attitude, we will act in a certain way. But the point is, situation affects our attitude. Okay, the quality of person. Okay, and the qualities of attitude itself. So now that we have seen this, let's move on to the next part. Okay, hypocrisy. So basically, now that we have seen that some people do not act according to their attitude, now who are those people called? They are called hypocrites. Okay, so basically people who do not act according to their attitudes. Basically, it's a person who tells that they want to behave, or they are like this. Okay, they support somebody or they do not support somebody, but they actually don't do that. So what they say is not what they believe in. Okay, so pretentious person, okay, the person who pretends to be something that they are not, are hypocrites. And these, why does this happen? Because they tended to have an attitude towards something, but they do not actually have that. Okay, they just have a basically facade, or a false, basically a mask, okay, in front of people, but in real life or in their real actions, they are not going to do so what they preach. Okay, now we have seen the effect or relation between attitude and behavior. We will now move on to the reverse part. Okay, relation between behavior and attitude. It's a two-way street. They both feed into each other. Okay, they both feed into each other. They are interrelated. Okay, all right. So now we are going to take many examples to explain this. Okay, So let's start with, let's say, child marriage. At one time and even right now it is going on. Okay, it is supported in many parts of the country and they still believe that it is ethically right. Okay, many people believe it to be good still. Okay, and if, but general perception right now has become that it is a social evil. It leads to basically destruction of childhood. Okay, as simple as that. Destruction of childhood, you can use this term, destruction of childhood. Okay, so now it has become a social evil. Why? Because basically due to many laws which were imposed on the people, their attitude has now changed. Okay, earlier there was a TV series Balika Vadhu. Even in that there was marriage of two children. Okay, so basically it was so much supported that it is a, although it is a social reality in India. Okay, but it was so much supported or people did not get angry at it that even a TV show was produced on it. Okay, but now people are quite aware of it and people are actively, NGOs and basically people like Kailash Satyarthi, these are working against all this. Okay, so people's, and they are getting support also. Why? Because now the attitude has changed due to the imposed rules and regulations. Okay, so basically people were forced to behave in a way and then they saw the reality and they understood the importance of not having a child get married at such a young age. Another example which you can see is punctuality. I'm going to take various examples. Okay, please note them down, although you will get the slide in which these examples will be written. Okay, so basically people follow Indian time. They're called at 4 p.m. They come at 5 p.m. They're called at 10 p.m. They come at 10:30 p.m. for a meeting. So basically there is no respect for others' time and even their own time. They believe that coming late is fashionable. Okay, but nowadays if you see that, let's say, let's take example of Mumbai local or Delhi metro, they run on time. Okay, mostly they run on time. So people, if they miss by 1 minute, the train leaves. So basically that's a behavior imposed on them, right? So attitude changes towards, at least in the traveling time, and slowly this transfers to other areas of life also. Okay, another example which you can take is open defecation or Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, people had what, a very easygoing attitude towards open defecation, but now due to Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, okay, and various basically prime minister took a broom, okay, and various political leaders did that, various social leaders did that. So by doing this, people were forced to change their behavior, through which an attitude change has now come up in many people, that Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is now on lips of every aware citizen, right? And not even aware, every rural urban citizen. Okay, so now they are learning the importance of not defecating in the open. Okay, it is happening slowly, it is happening, but we could not wait for the attitudinal change, so we imposed it from the outside. Okay, it was imposed on us. Okay, and it's a good thing also, it's a good thing, right? What about let's say prohibition of things? Attitudinal change has not been brought up with respect to alcohol. Still many people drink it, right? So many states like Gujarat, okay, have imposed a full prohibition on alcohol. Okay, similar thing on dance bar prohibition. Okay, similar thing, odd even scheme. What else? Red beacons, they were removed 2-3 years ago, right? So such things which are done, they are prohibited in the interest of changing the attitude of people. Okay, so one more thing which we can last example, or let's say 1 or 2 example, let's take. Okay, let's take of corruption. In corruption, many times it is observed that the probationers, okay, the people who are young, they are quite against corruption. Okay, but when the career progresses, it is found that many people succumb to it. All right, despite the rules and all. Why? Because the society, the informal basically rules of a state, informal rules of a state, that some states, basically if the political dispensation of the state is against corruption, the bureaucracy also follows the same path. But sometimes there are informal things that are going on, what I'm trying to say. So basically some states have a culture of that. Okay, so all these things affect your behavior. It is imposed on you, even though you want to be honest, but it is suddenly imposed on you, and after a limit, after a time, you certainly cannot go against it. Okay, next, last example, let me take this example. It is an international example, that's why I want to include this. There is a dance called Hakka dance. Okay, it's a dance which is done by basically a team, okay, during a rugby match or something. Okay, so point is they dance very aggressively. Okay, so through their behavior, okay, when they land on the ground and all that, they are quite passive and all that. So when the team aggressively dances, due to their behavior, they get pumped up and their attitude changes to aggressive. So this is how behavior affects your mood. So they get pumped up. This is also similar to speeches that are done by coaches before the game. Okay, many of you might remember the 70-minute speech by Shah Rukh Khan in Chak De. So all these things affect the attitude from the path of behavior, right? So now that we have seen both the relations, attitude affecting behavior, behavior affecting attitude. Okay, now we'll see how to increase the correlation between attitude and behavior. Okay, see, I have told you about the importance of emotional intelligence many times in this lecture. So you need to develop emotional intelligence so that you can become strong enough to follow your attitude into behavior. You have to be optimistic. This means that you need to be stable enough, you need to be cheerful enough to to follow what is right in the situation, that things will be right. Basically, if you have a negative attitude, you will say ki, no, corruption is everywhere, I have no option. But if you're optimistic, you can say that no, there are legal avenues which I can follow, I can whistleblow and so on. Okay. What about listening to conscience or conscience? This is basically what people call your inner voice. So, and many times inner voice is right. Okay, so if you follow that, your attitude and behavior will match. Okay, be motivated to struggle, be motivated to do the right thing and so on. Okay, this be motivated and optimistic, it is linked. Okay, you need to think rationally. Basically, you don't need to worry about things that might not happen. Okay, so basically think rationally means think by reasons, by pros and cons. Okay, so you need to understand what is the reason behind your attitude, how you can change it to affect the behavior you want. Okay, identify your attitudes honestly. This means basically you need to see that why you are behaving in a certain way, and you need to be honest with yourself that if you are afraid of something, you need to accept it. And if you are thinking that in some cases you will go corrupt, you need to accept it honestly and then try to change it. Okay, so this is how you can increase the relation between attitude and behavior. That means the attitude should convert to behavior. Okay, now we're going to study something good topic. Okay, although this was also important, this is very important, but this is something which what we are just going to discuss is cognitive dissonance, which is going to actually help you implement some things on the ground practically. Okay, so all this is example, this was theory. Okay, cognitive dissonance is something which you will feel in real life, and that is how you will relate between attitude and behavior. So see, what happens is people want that the way they think, they want to act that way, but sometimes things don't go this way. Okay, so basically there is a discrepancy between attitude and behavior, they don't match. Okay, so when they don't match, it leads to cognitive dissonance. Okay, and then we need to change it. So that, see, dissonance leads to depression, it can lead to depression, it can lead to basically stress, discomfort. Okay, you won't be able to concentrate on your work, you won't be able to trust yourself. Okay, so basically this feeling of discomfort, see, there is a, first of all, what happens, there is a inconsistency between attitude and behavior. You are not acting as your attitude. Then what happens, you feel cognitive dissonance. Then what happens, you become motivated enough to change it because you don't like this feeling of discomfort. So see, in this structured way I explained you, you need to remember it in this way only. Okay, now let's see. Cognitive dissonance, basically liars are bad people, and but I just lied. So what is this? So am I a bad person? Okay, but people try to justify them in any way. So this kid also might able to justify it somehow. Okay, so cognitive dissonance is basically your attitude is you don't want to lie and you think liars are bad people, but you actually lied. So now you are feeling a dissonance, you are feeling a feeling of discomfort in your mind. Cognitive means thinking, so it is related to mind. Dissonance is basically not being in a balance. Okay, so you feel a discomfort in your mind, that is cognitive dissonance. This is just an example, simple example, very simple example. All right, now we'll see it. Okay, so basically it is a question that what happens when when your beliefs, okay, your beliefs, basically your attitude does not line up with your behavior or action. Okay, so it's an incompatibility between two or more attitudes, like I told you about caste and corruption example of a politician. Or it can be an incompatibility between behavior and attitude, which we just discussed, that you think people who lie are bad people, but you just lied. Okay, so research says that people want a consistency among the attitude and behavior, and when this does not happen, it leads to cognitive dissonance. Now let's take two examples quickly and try to understand it. So you're in a situation, okay, the situation is you want financial security in your life, but when you date someone or your significant other is financially a bit unstable. So what do? If you try to teach them, okay, and they don't like it, there will obviously be a small conflict, or it can escalate into a bigger conflict. So what do? You have two options. What do you do to reduce the tension? You have two options. Either you can end the relationship and find a partner who is actually financially stable like you or secure like you. Okay, that will reduce the financial issue, okay, and reduce the dissonance. Okay, see, dissonance, where does dissonance come from in this case? You like the person but you like financial stability also. So what do? Either you choose financial stability or you choose the person. But when you choose the person, you need to change your attitude towards financial stability. So dissonance comes from two things here, that you want to choose your financial stability or you choose your partner. So if you choose the financial stability, obviously you end up breaking up the relationship, and if you choose the partner, then you reduce or change your attitude, okay, or you basically change your behavior. So this is the flow of resolving a dissonance. Okay, so we'll take another example which might help you understand more. So basically you know, okay, you know, or it's your belief that smoking is bad, but what you acted, you smoked it, you smoked a cigarette. Now what? क्या होगा? Cognitive dissonance. क्यों? एक टेंशन हो जाएगी आपको, यू विल फील अ टेंस इन योर माइंड, you will have an awareness of discomfort, okay, because your belief or your attitude was against your behavior, okay, or action. So what to do? Here you can write results in, here you can write, oh sorry, solution. Either you change your action. How will you change it? You will say that it is unhealthy to smoke, so I won't any more. Next part, next solution is you change belief. Okay, how you can say that? Smoking is, let's say, okay, and I will continue to smoke. Smoking is okay, maybe the person can justify that there is no conclusive research. Okay, so this is another example. Here results have been different. Okay, so you change the belief, either smoking is okay, or you change the action. Okay, I won't smoke anymore, smoking is bad. Okay, all right. So here I would like to tell you one more thing, one small thing. We just saw about cognitive dissonance. What does it mean? That when your behavior, okay, and when your attitude is not in consonance, so it leads to dissonance. Okay, so basically in cognitive dissonance you discover that there is inconsistency between your attitude and behavior, and then you feel discomfort, which you can change by attitude or behavior change. Sorry for the short form, but if I write it fully it will take a lot of time. Anyways, so here one thing I'd like to tell you, there is a term called confirmation bias. Confirmation bias, it means we tend to accept anything which can be data, it can be an input, it can be a opinion that confirms what we already believe to be true. Okay, example can be, let's say we agree or we like those things, okay, which fit into our worldview. Okay, things that fit our worldview. Okay, like if a person is patriarchal, okay, they would try to find a wife which is from a rural area, most probably. Just giving you an example. Okay, something like this. Okay, so basically people, what happens is people even go for searching for things which agree with their facts or their beliefs, not facts. Okay, but happens, what is the issue? Why are we studying it? Because this is a hindrance in attitudinal change. Because this will become difficult if you just keep wanting things to basically agree with your attitude, you will not change it, right? Okay, so this is why many people believe in psychic readings. Okay, this is so basically it's a hindrance in attitudinal change, and that is one example is people believe so much in psychic reading or some fake guru, okay, who will just watch their hand and or read their palm and tell things that they like. Okay, so basically another example or another definition of cognitive dissonance is when the real world does not fit with our worldview. So this is one of those features of our course wherein we tell you things from a different perspective which other classes don't teach. Okay, so this is I have told you about cognitive various ways in which you can deal with cognitive dissonance. This will affect a lot in basically when you study about civil services values and all. Okay, so I hope you have understood this. Okay, now we shall be moving on to our next chapter, next topic. All right, the topic is moral attitudes. All right, so basically how you feel about something, that is our attitude, that is contained in our attitude. But how do you, when that thing is connected with your morals, as we have earlier learned that morals are more personal thing. Okay, personal attitude about something. So how do you feel when those morals affects your attitude? Okay, so basically morality is knowing right or wrong according to your own belief and convictions. So moral attitude is something which is based on your morality. Okay, and this leads through your moral attitude, you tell others what is right and wrong according to you. Okay, so calling things immoral or immoral based on moral convictions, that's it. And you need to, or it is used to convey your moral attitudes toward others, not towards others but to others. Okay, so this is the definition which you can note down in your notes. Okay, so this, when moral attitude is derived, sorry, the attitude which is derived from moral will be obviously concerned with moral dilemmas. Okay, what to do, what not to do in a situation, as simple as that. Okay, so this is concerned with moral dilemmas. Example, section 377. Okay, issue of transgenders, issue of LGBTQ. Okay, such things are morality based. Okay, some people find them acceptable, some people don't find them acceptable, and some people are ambivalent towards it. Okay, they are, or neutral, let's say neutral, they support, some support it, some don't support it, some are neutral towards it. So this is their moral attitude towards an issue. Okay, basically these moral attitudes come from religion. Okay, most of the times. Okay, basically we are going to see some examples. First we are going to study a bit in detail about this. So what happens when one moral attitude comes against moral attitude, another moral attitude? Conflict arises. Okay, like Una flogging that happened, okay, of some people who were carrying dead bodies of cows. So later on they came to know that those cows were already dead and they were actually taking them to cities. Okay, from the villages to cities to get basically to extract skin and all. So basically they didn't kill those cows, they were already dead. Okay, but then later on the people who were flogged, the community said that at one place we are cleaning our streets, basically your streets. Okay, and then we are getting this such a behavior in return. So this is what led to, so the flogging led to conflict between two moral attitudes. Okay, so this gives rise to intolerance. If there is a conflict between two moral values, it gives rise to intolerance. You will not tolerate someone else's moral attitude. Okay, so diversity gets threatened, because if one religion or one culture, since moral attitudes are derived from religion and culture, so if one moral or one religion, let's say, okay, tries to dominate, then what will happen? Obviously the other cultures will submit to the basically biggest religion or culture. So diversity needs to be protected in this way. So this is how you can, in this simple sentence, I have linked GS4 with GS1. Okay, with example. So this is something which you can use in your own examination, and you can take it down and note it down. Okay, so now we are going to study about traits of moral attitudes, right? All right, before moving on, I would like to tell you about non-moral attitude, example of non-moral attitude, like ice cream. Okay, butterscotch, for you it is good, for somebody it is not good. So that is a non-moral attitude. It is not derived from your religion or morals. Okay, it is just a matter of taste and preference. Okay. Alright, so what are the traits of moral attitudes? You can also use them if they ask you like how are moral attitudes different from other attitudes? Okay, how these are different from other attitudes. Okay, so what are the features? These are quite strong because they have been basically there for a long time. If they are derived from culture and religion, you can imagine that they might have been there for a long time, like beef eating. Okay, that feeling is so strong. Okay, cow protection, that feeling, that moral attitude is so strong in a community. The reason is that they have been for a long time, and these are hence difficult to change. Okay, now these moral attitudes have high correlation with behavior. That is, when you have a moral attitude towards something, you will most probably act in that way. Okay, like we have read earlier how attitude, weak and strong attitude are. Okay, and how relation between attitude and behavior is. Okay, so high correlation is there with the behavior. That is, if you do not like some let's say you have a moral conflict towards some behavior of somebody else, like beef eating, so you will most probably try to stop that person. Okay, it has a universalistic attitude. That means you expect others to behave in the same way towards your own moral attitude. Okay, so basically many people are having gender attitude of patriarchy. Okay, so they morally believe it to be right, so they expect other people to be following the same attitude. Okay, it has very high emotional content. Okay, for example, beef, like I talked about. Okay, then what else? Mob lynching. These are the result of what? Because in mob, emotions run high, they don't listen to reason. Okay, so emotional content is so high in a mob lynching towards a cause. Let's say a person is caught who basically violated a young girl. Okay, raped a young girl, let's say a small girl. Okay, less than 10 years. So obviously the moral attitude towards it would be very strong, very emotional. Okay, so if by chance even the mob will become the judge, right, judge, jury and the executioner, they will decide among themselves. This happens a lot on railway stations wherein a person, let's say a thief, is caught. Okay, so even if the person is apologetic, or they might have misunderstood also, but the beating will be given. Okay, so why this is given? Because emotional content is high and rationality is low. I'm not saying they deserve it or not, I'm not trying to justify that. I'm just trying to explain things to you in a non-judgmental way, so that you also develop that sense. Not everything is right or wrong, but you need to be less judgmental toward things. Okay, so that you can take a rational decision. Okay, they are okay. Now coming to the next point, they are inherently justified. That is, let's say people don't eat non-veg during Navratras, those 9 days. So that is inherently justified. People don't try to give justification for it. People say don't eat, so you don't eat. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, without justification, we consider it right. They are considered moral. Okay, now these things also motivate people to do something. Okay, like let's say Kailash Satyarthi, he considers child labor, okay, and the atrocities that are meted out to children, he considers them totally immoral. So what he is doing, he is trying to eradicate it. And where do you think he gets that power to struggle? From his moral attitude only. Okay, so I hope you understood what are the traits of moral attitude, because if this can be asked, and this is how you can understand what is going on in society, why some people are behaving in certain way. Okay, so let's move on to the implications. Okay, if the moral attitudes are nice, are good, okay, they can lead to pro-social behavior. okay, or the moral attitudes agree with the current ethics, it will lead to pro-social behavior. But this is dangerous if, because it will lead to too much conformation or uniformity. Like I've told you before, a religion which is in majority will try to impose that behavior, but to some extent that is right, because that religion will force its own members to do that. But if it crosses that and crosses into another religion, then the problem is created. Okay, so moral attitudes most likely will have pro-social consequences, because that will lead to, let's say, moral people, okay, who will follow rules, okay, who will not violate basically small kids, okay. But if the if the moral attitude is too rigid, okay, or it is too strong, or it is too forced, or it is imposed on somebody, okay, or some group, it can lead to distance and rivalry among people. This can lead to low level of cooperation, and this will be a threat to fraternity or brotherhood of the nation, right? So basically, more the distance and rivalry among people with different moral attitudes, okay, it will lead to less cooperation or low cooperation among people. That will lead to low brotherhood among the citizens of the country. So this is how you can relate that if there are different moral attitudes and they are quite strong and they come into conflict, that can lead to distance and rivalry. Another thing it can lead to is, obviously it is written over there, intolerance. Intolerance is, you understand what it is, okay. Now it can lead to what? Violence, okay, and people will start accepting this violence also. Why? They will justify it by saying that our moral attitude is much superior to yours, okay. Example, khap panchayat, okay, moral policing. So in both the cases, someone is imposing their moral attitude on somebody else. In this case, khap is imposing that on females, moral policing on both boys and girls, okay. So such things lead, I think you can now relate what is the cause of all these things, okay. This is why we should study ethics, because it makes us understand what is the situation, moral situation, okay, behind the incidents. It leads us to understand symptoms behind the actual things that are going on in our life, symptoms. Now when we will read about emotional intelligence and aptitude, you will be more able to relate the happenings in your life, okay. Now one thing you need to understand, okay, so we have learned that when the implications when the moral attitudes match, when the moral attitudes don't match, right? So okay, so one perspective in moral attitude you need to understand that our society, as I told you, it is in transition, okay. So what happens is, the issue is becoming that people are becoming neutral towards moral attitudes, okay, and they are considering morality as an obstacle sometimes, morality as an obstacle many times, okay. This is leading to more materialism, okay. So this is quite important for exam, so that this is okay, I'll put a star over it. It is quite important because this directly relates to the change in society, okay, and this will give you a new perspective towards things that are going on in our society, okay. So basically it is no longer a priority for people, okay. As you know, there are 4 purusharths, right? Kam, arth, dharma, moksha. Kam, arth, dharma, moksha. Kam is basically physical pleasure, sensual pleasure. Actually it includes all kinds of pleasures, but mostly it is related to sensual pleasure, okay. Arth is basically economy, or basically money, earning money, okay. Dharma is your duty, moksha is, you understand, nirvana type, okay. So in these 4 things, more focus is growing on this. I think I've discussed with you this before. So more focus is growing on these two things, wherein more focus on sensuous pleasures is leading to lust. More focus on earth is leading to greed. Money, money, money. I want money, money, money. Okay. Anyhow, people want it. Anyhow, people want sensual pleasure. Okay. So this is how things are changing in society, and it will help you in essays a lot. So how do we conclude? Okay, this topic, moral attitude. How do we conclude? So basically, please write it down. I've written it for you. We should embrace love, okay, and let other live also, or rather, okay, yeah, better it would be we should embrace live and let live principle. Okay, we should develop cultural tolerance. Okay, as we cannot impose our moral principles on another, because our moral principles are our own. Okay, they are subjective, they are not always right. Okay, and in the end you can also use another conclusion, that in our country we talk about unity. In our country we talk about unity, but there are many attempts to make things uniform. Okay, so this will reduce or eliminate innovativeness, comma, diversity. All right, so we need to focus on diversity and not uniformity. We need to focus on unity and not intolerance. Okay, so you can conclude this moral attitude topic like this. Okay, I hope you have understood. Okay, so this is how we need to understand any topic whether related to UPSC. I'm telling you again, we understand its definition first, its relation and its traits. Okay, how it is different, what are the features, then we understand implications, and then we conclude. All right. So I hope you have understood this. All right, now we'll move on to the next part, which is last part for the day. I know lecture has gone a bit long today, but we need to maintain a continuity, and I'll try to wrap up next lecture quite soon. Okay, all right. So last topic for the day, political attitude. Basically, this is an attitude which is towards a political thing, any political thing. Okay, it can be towards politics as a concept, toward politicians who participate in it. Okay, so attitude toward anything related to politics. Okay, and attitude is basically a preference, right? So like or dislike for a political thing, which can be a person, party, or ideology. Okay, so it's a system also. Another definition is it is a system, okay, that basically you decide your action based on the positive or negative effect on the electoral gain. Okay, basically it's a system by which you decide your action if it leads to positive or negative electoral gain. Okay, it can be positive or negative. This political attitude can be positive or negative. Okay, it can be positive basically when you have zero tolerance towards corruption. Okay, you are pro poor. Okay, zero tolerance towards corruption, pro poor. Okay, welfare for weaker section. Okay, falling equality, justice. Okay, on the negative side it can lead to regionalism, communalism, intolerance, caste based mobilization, and so on. Okay, so basically political attitude is your attitude towards any political thing. Okay, any political thing, and it's a system by which you decide the fruitfulness of your action if it's politically positive or not. Then political attitude is of two types, it's positive or negative. In positive you can say that it's against corruption, pro poor, pro welfare, and negative it's against it leads to regionalism and intolerance. All right, so basically it is quite necessary in a democracy. In a democracy it is quite necessary, otherwise people will not care about the votes. Okay, if people think politics can change something, then only they're going to change and go out and vote and then expect some change to come. Otherwise, if they are neutral towards politics or negative towards politics, they might not even vote. Okay, so people or places where there is a neutral political attitude, voting percentage is less. The more involved people are in politics, the more voting will happen. Okay, let's move on to the political ideologies. Okay, left and right, you might have heard a lot about it. Left leaning parties, right leaning parties. India has both the parties, okay, who are left leaning and right leaning. Okay, so let's try to understand all these terms. First let's try to understand the left wing. It is generally characterized by equality, okay, rights, freedom, progress, okay, reform. These are all features. You might not need to remember this, but I'm just telling you so that you understand once and for all, so that you can relate with your life more. Okay, what is happening? This is more related with authority, order, duty, nationalism. Okay, now we come to the radicals. Okay, see, radicals are basically those who are extremely discontent with the status quo. I hope you know what is status quo. That is the present situation, present societal or political environment. So they are totally dissatisfied. Okay, so they want an immediate and profound change. They want immediate change in the country's political arena. Okay, so basically they are progressive, they want change, but they want complete revolution. They don't want anything that is left of the past. Okay, and they are dissatisfied with the current thing, dissatisfied with with status quo. Okay, now methods can include something which is organic or inorganic. Means something which takes time, like takes 5 to 10 years. Just say laws, some laws might take 5 to 10 years. Okay, this is a totally new, okay, which has to be done immediately. Okay, or they can support something that has been going on for 5-10 years and it is leading to reform, but they want now the immediate reform. Okay, this is more radical people focus on this more. Okay, now let's come to liberal. Oh, one thing before we move on, are they always violent? What do you think? If I tell you one example, you will be able to answer. Gandhi ji was a radical. Now I think you can answer that if all radicals are violent or not. Okay. Now let's come to liberals. They are also dissatisfied, but they are less dissatisfied than radicals. Okay, so radicals are more dissatisfied than liberals. So liberals also want some change. Okay, they also believe in equality and competence of people. Okay, but they want to change step by step or by constitutional means. Moderates also do the same thing, but let's focus on liberals. So they are also less dissatisfied, but less than radicals. Okay, so they also want to change the system. All right. Okay, so they are also dissatisfied but less than radicals. Constitutional means I told you, and they want slow progress. They don't want an immediate hammer like progress. Okay, now the moderates, they think that there is not much wrong with the system, they want to change it a lot. Okay, but they also want to maintain status quo. Okay, but they are also willing to change but less than radicals and less than liberals. Okay, so willingness to change is almost see, let's say it basically means less than conservative, okay, but more than radical and liberals. Okay, so it lies between them. Okay, conservative people don't want the system to change. Okay, so that is their level, but still they are willing to change. Please remember that it's not like they don't want to change. Conservative don't want any change in the system. No change. Let's write it here. No change. Okay, they want status quo. Okay, and why do they think so? They think so because they believe change is useless. It won't benefit the system. Okay, now come to reactionary. Basically they are one step behind these conservatives. Okay, conservatives want status quo while these want to go back to previous system. Okay, they are basically regressive, not progressive. Regressive, that means they want to go back. They don't want to stay at the same system. Also they want to go back to the old system. Like they want let's say ISIS, they want the old caliphate back. Okay, if people in India want some of the political parties started demanding sati back, so it can be a reactionary party. All right, so I hope you have understood the political ideologies. Okay, so Indian political parties also fall in this spectrum, but we have to remain politically neutral, so I'm not going to tell you which party lies where, but I think with this discussion you are able to somehow get some hint where the political parties lie, right? So let's move on to the next topic. Factors affecting a political ideology of a person. Okay, so there are many factors, okay, many important factors, many small factors, but there are a lot of factors which affect the political ideology. Okay, how a person would react to some political system, okay, to a political person. Okay, let's start with age. See, older people are considered to be conservative. Okay, and they lean towards democracy, political democracy. Okay, young people are a bit more radical. Okay, they want immediate change. Okay, they are interested in a lot of change because first of all, the basic reason is they will live to enjoy the fruit. They will live to enjoy those fruits, or they will enjoy the system more. They will, don't write live, that is a bit too much. They will enjoy the change more. Okay, so due to the age factor, young people are considered a bit basically radicals. Okay, and the old people are considered conservative. Okay, young people want economic democracy. All right, okay, let's come to the economic background. See, primary motivation for choosing a political party is economic background. Okay, let me change the ink color. Okay, this is one of the primary reasons for choosing a political position. Okay, people who are doing well, okay, they don't want any change. They want status quo because system is doing well for them. People who are poor, they want to change the system. Okay, poor will align with socialist ideology most probably. They will vote for a party who will give basically food, fertilizer subsidy and all. Okay, we can connect this with actual election things. Coming to personality, okay, how a person's personality affects basically the, what do you call, the political attitude. In the personality trait, if the person is tolerant, they will be most probably moderate, right? If they are courageous, most probably they will be radical, like young people. Okay, optimistic, they will most likely be liberal, and so on. Okay, and if it's a pessimistic person, then they will be most probably conservative. Okay, coming to the family, this is a very important part. Okay, because a lot of time family based votings happen, family based voting. Okay, children usually follow what the family ideology is. Okay, if a family is linked to some closed ideology, okay, or is close to some political party, family most probably votes to family, basically children follow that only. Basically the patriarch of the family, if they are voting towards some party, most of the family will do that only. Okay, let's come to gender. In gender, basically if we see that women are considered more liberal, okay, because they want equal rights. Women are considered more liberal as they want equal rights, equal pay, right, more opportunities and so on. Coming to religion, how it affects, see, the right, religious right, these people tend to be more conservative because they want to maintain the system as is. Okay, especially if you see gay rights, religious right would oppose it. Okay, just for an example. All right, coming to education, see, school syllabus is an important part of a socialization which develops your political attitude. Okay, like an Indian, okay, if taught about Hitler, would also obviously find it repulsive, right? A Chinese may find Indian democracy repulsive. Okay, okay. Coming to others like race, in race, it's like if they feel they are deprived of something, okay, if they are deprived of something like say opportunities because of other races, okay, then they will lean towards a radical party. It's similar to poor. Okay, if poor feel that some party is going to help them, they will obviously align with it. Okay, disposition basically means your nature. Some people like chaos, right? And if you take an example of Joker in Dark Knight movie, okay, so they will be naturally inclined to radicalism, right? If another example is if a person is born in military family, okay, and they have a very strict basically discipline, so the person would be more of a rightist and focus on more let's say order, authority, discipline, hierarchy, strong state, okay, and so on. Residence also matter because if a local unemployed youth is there, okay, there is a large chunk of unemployed local youth, they will more likely align with a party which basically promises them against action against migrants or outsiders, like son of the soil theory is going on in India, son of the soil theory. Okay, so these are the factors that affect political ideology of the person. They are quite a lot. Okay, and so you need to understand that political ideology is or attitude is not shaped by any single factor. It is a mix of complex factor. Okay, so okay, this is one of the, okay, before this I'd like to discuss one single question that came in UPSC, that why youth don't want to join politics. Why youth don't want to join politics. Okay, so basically now you can answer this. Why? Because some people think it's not a noble profession. Okay, this is their political attitude. Okay, they feel that it is more money power than democratic power. Okay, it is dynastic. Okay, then people think that many, okay, it disrupts life and you are not able to live a normal life. Okay, your family life is affected and all that. So what are the solutions? Solution is basically mass media and awareness about how some people are actually changing things. Okay, because if we become neutral, then voting would decrease, then participation would decrease, and basically the country would go to dogs. Okay, at school level awareness needs to be increased. Okay, then state has a big role because they need to execute electoral reforms. Okay, and so, okay, and since I talked about dynasty, then intra-party democracy. Okay, so such things need to be brought, steps need to be taken by political parties, the government itself, and the public itself. Okay, all right. So this question, 6 ways internet catalyzes wrong behavior. This is, I have taken this because it comes under moral attitude. Okay, see, anonymity is maintained on the internet, so you cannot be caught easily. Okay, you don't need to come near the victim. Okay, through computer scripts you can take thousands of images. Okay, you can download all the images from a profile of a person by doing automation. Okay, see, accessibility, data plans are getting cheaper per day due to competition and monopolistic attitude of a company. Okay, then once uploaded, things exist on internet for perpetuity. It's very difficult to remove anything. Okay, sorry, these are 5 ways. These are 5 ways internet catalyzes wrong behavior. Okay, all right. So today's session has gone for a long time, and I hope you are okay with that, and I would like to thank you for your patience. Let's quickly go over the summary. Okay, first we tried to understand. We started with attitude. Obviously we continued from where left before. We took 2 examples of weakness of attitude. Okay, we saw this snapshot. We saw the attitude behavior continuum and the relationship between them. We saw how attitude affects behavior. There are 2 questions in it which we saw. Does our attitude guide behavior? Yes, sometimes it does. There are other factors which we have with 2 other factors, okay, which we have discussed. Then what does guide our attitude, or when does our attitude guide behavior? So we have discussed that also. Then we discussed about hypocrites. Then we saw how behavior affects attitude. We took some large amount of examples. Okay, so how to increase the correlation, we saw that. We saw what is cognitive dissonance and how it affects and how you can react. Okay, we took 2 examples. I think the lecture went on because today we discussed a lot of examples. Okay, usually people discuss one. I have discussed a lot of examples with it. Okay, so what are the traits of moral attitude, how moral attitudes is different than other attitudes, we saw that. What are the implications of the same? Political attitude we saw. Okay, we saw different political ideologies. Okay, then we saw what are the factors affecting political ideology of a person. Then how internet catalyzes wrong behavior. We saw another question, why youth is not participating, okay, in politics. So that was the summary of the session. Okay, in the next class we are going to complete the attitude part and do the remaining topics. Okay, so for the practice question today we have that is why I discussed cognitive dissonance in detail with you. What do you understand by cognitive dissonance? Giving examples, discuss how it influences one's behavior and attitude. Okay, so you have to tell what is cognitive dissonance, give that example. Okay, what is cognitive dissonance? Okay, you don't have to tell how to solve it, but you can by example tell how it influences one's behavior and attitude. Okay, try to answer this. Okay, no matter how much time it takes, try to answer it, try to think on it, revise the lecture, revise the slides. Okay, go through what I've given examples of. You can do also your own research on internet. Try to write some answers and we'll discuss the model answer in the next lecture. Alright, this is all for this lecture. Thanks a lot guys and girls for your patience. Okay, thank you for listening. I hope you learned something today and we'll meet in the next lecture. Alright, chalo. Thank you so much and see you in the next lecture. Bye bye.